Good morning, everybody. It's 9:45 a.m. on a Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Java with Jen, Java with Jen, Java with Jen, Java with Jen. And you'll notice that today in the neighborhood, I'm bringing in my good friend Kim Russo from On Brand Designs. Hey, Kim, welcome to the show.
Whoa, thanks for having me and getting fueled up with coffee.
There you go. A little caffeine never hurt anyone. I always have said, like through the years, I've done the whole 30, all the things, right? Giving up the grain, the dairy, the sugar. I'm not giving up coffee or men. It's just two things I refuse to give up. It's just two things. Never going to give up either one of them. I'm so excited to have you on the show this week because this is something I've been thinking about for a long, long time. And, this idea to have you on came because back in 2019, I was speaking at a women's engineering conference in Denver. And afterwards, I was kind of chit-chatting, having a glass of wine with some of the ladies that were there. And a lot of them, most of them were individual contributors or new managers. They were kind of in that high performing category, wanted to make it to director, VP, C-suite, but what they weren't fresh out of college, kind of in that mid-range, right? And something they said struck me, which is they never felt like they could like dress up, put on makeup, look pretty when they went to work, because they would either be asked if they were going on a date or for a job interview. So they were trying to show up authentic to themselves, but the environment was saying, made them feel uncomfortable. Nobody was saying don't look that way, but it made them feel uncomfortable. So I was thinking two things. One is, I know you do, like most of your work is with entrepreneurs or corporations when you're doing their branding, right? So can a person have a brand? Like I know I have a brand, but I also run a company and it's me, right? But like just your person at work, could they have a personal brand? Is that a thing?
Absolutely. So just being your own unique, authentic self is personal branding. So I think it comes also with I'll say with age and wisdom, it's getting to know yourself and getting to identify what your likes and what kind of sets you apart. So I do think it's super important anywhere in life to have it, whether it's corporate, entrepreneurship, any aspect of life is just being authentic to who you are and understanding and creating your own look and style. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like dressing up, but dressing where you feel confident.
Okay, so let's say I'm, at the beginning of my journey or the middle. I'm not, a lot of people have done a lot of personal growth work like you and I have, I feel like I've been on this journey my whole life of just learning about myself. Maybe most people feel that way, but what would be 3 easy things a person could do? Like 3 ways to look at their own personal brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without going too much into fashion, since I don't do fashion, but
Me neither, girl. I'm good in shorts, a t-shirt, and flip flops.
Yeah, but also own that too. Like I have this black dress on right now in the summertime. I literally wear it every day. I have three of the same dress because I love it, and so people know me. Even though I'm not a fashionista, they know me as someone who's going to be comfortable, but also cute at the same time. So I'm always going to be wearing leggings and black in the winter. And so owning something that is just recognizable and it's linked to you. So it's a conversations piece. It's something to set you apart. It's something to be recognizable. So something to, and it doesn't have to be accessories. It could be your hair. It could be something iconic that's true to you, that is going to have a conversation or set you apart from somebody else to make you unique. And it could be anything from, maybe there's let's say you like unicorns and you set up your desk with unicorns. Like what is it that is so about you? And I say that because I love unicorns.
Oh, you do? They're not real, right? They're not real.
Believe. But I mean, even though I work for myself and I work from home, I have unicorns in my she shed. But what is that identifies you? Maybe there's like a lucky charm that you've always, or a story behind something that you've grown up with, and that could be the story. Like you believe in elephants or wish on elephants, and that's something that's gonna, make you stand apart. So like, oh, when you're referencing 5 different people, okay, Kim likes unicorns, and that's, even though it might not even be relevant to what you do, it's something that's going to make you stand out.
Something makes you memorable. As you were sharing that, it made me think of a woman that worked for me many years ago, has like over 20 years ago. And one of the things that I really appreciated about her is she would sit and just listen. And like, this is something I now realize she was known for. Because I'm thinking about our neurospicy people
Mhm.
and our introverted people who don't want attention brought to them, don't want to have unicorns on their desk, don't want to have anything that stands out.
Yeah.
I was thinking like you could be the person who just sits back and takes it all in to kind of absorb it. And then you're one of the last people to speak.
Mhm.
That could be something that is
Yeah.
part of your personal brand because you want to be known as thoughtful.
Mhm.
Not that somebody would be thoughtless if they didn't sit back and listen. It could also be, you got quick wits. You're funny. That
Mhm.
is one of my signature moves.
Yeah.
I also had to make sure that I wasn't taking attention away from the real subject
Mhm.
because many years ago I would do that all the time. I was like a wiseacre, and that was not helpful
Yeah.
to people. And now I jokingly call it taking us to Paris. I'm like, "Ooh, I just took us to Paris." Back on track. So
That's funny.
maybe it's being thoughtful and sitting back,
Yeah,
right?
and then it could be too like just your signature. Let's say you're sending out an email and there's a quote that you really love that resonates with you, and that's something that you can have on all of your correspondence or something that kind of sets you apart too to that just to kind of get people to know who you are a little bit more.
I like that. Or maybe it's, like I always have pictures of my cat Kevin, right? People know me for my cat Kevin, so it could be
Mhm.
something like that, but I love the idea of a quote in your signature, or maybe it's a color you love wearing, and so you incorporate. One of my dear friends loves orange. So anytime she like can have something with a little orange in it, that also is helpful for me to buy her presents.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm like
Yeah.
anything with orange I can get for Beth.
Yeah, I actually heard a funny story of a woman who bought an owl. She was on a trip and she got a souvenir as an owl. And all of a sudden it turned into everybody, friends, family for years getting her owl gifts until she finally had to say, like, appreciate it, but I really have nothing that is like an owl thing that I like. And she finally had to like set a stop to it. And everybody was so offended by it. And um, but there's a way to set out your personal brand is understanding and defining who you are and making it very apparent to everybody around you what it is and what it not is.
Yes, it's funny. That actually happened to me. An ex-boyfriend found this like Weeble penguin and gave it to me as a joke, and then people started buying me penguin stuff for years, and I didn't even say to people, I was just like, I'm kind of over penguin
Yeah.
at this point, and I had a friend who collected them, so I gave them all to her. Um, but you said something that struck me. Let's define personal brand. Can you define personal brand in a sentence?
Yeah. So kind of I said before, I think it's just showing up authentically who you are and having it be visible.
That is what I think is key. And authenticity, that the first four letters of the word authentic is Latin for self or Greek for self. So authentic is being yourself
Mm-hmm.
and being visible. And I think that's one of the things that women in these male saturated industries struggle with sometimes is standing out. So
Yeah.
what would make you visible and maybe memorable? Because that quote idea that you named,
Mm-hmm.
that would make me remember, oh, you're the one with the whatever, the Gandhi quote. You're the one with the Lizzo quote,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It's taking something that's iconic to you.
Say that again.
So, like taking something and it can be anything. I think there's kind of a broad range because personal brand could be taking on so many aspects, but it's just taking something iconic that is about you.
One thing. Start
Yeah.
with one thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
mine is teal. I would say my first thing would be teal.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't know if somebody comes across me and doesn't know my favorite color is teal, then they're just not paying attention.
Okay, well, I wasn't paying attention and now I know, and I'm sorry.
My whole entire website's teal. All my water bottles, my brand, everything is teal.
Okay.
Teal.
And if you were to say, so we're talking about personal branding is something that's authentic to you, that makes you feel visible and is memorable, right?
Yep.
Is that the same thing for a company's brand? Something that's visible and memorable?
100%. So the way that I weave personal branding into client brand or like brand
Corporate brands or yeah,
yeah
business brands.
is taking the leader. So like you are your brand. So we want to have some sort of aspect of you, your personal self, in your branding, since you are showing up and representing that brand, to show up confidently and to show up in a way that, again, going back to authentic and representing in a way that's going to make you shine, light up, be happy to like showcase your brand and share it to the world. There has to be, in my opinion, and this could be, other people can say no, but in my opinion, I think that you should have an aspect of your brand when you're a small company. When you're a big company, then we're talking about catering more to the masses and really focusing on your client. But I try to combine what your ideal audience and client would want along with the personal brand. And that's because I work with a lot of small businesses that there is a face to the brand.
Right, right. That's so good. This is so important. And the other thing I was thinking about is connecting this to imposter syndrome. If you feel like you don't fit, if you feel like you're, trying to make yourself fit in, you're never going to focus on your personal brand. Once you've dealt with imposter syndrome and you can be returned to who you are, then you can really start to think about,
yeah,
what is my personal brand? What is authentic to me?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
that makes sense.
no, I think that's totally right. I think that's totally right, because you kind of have to understand who you are to understand your personal brand, or give yourself permission to show up and share some of the things that maybe you're holding inside and not sharing with other people. And you think that it's not going to be relevant, but it could be. So I think getting to the root of, going back to imposter syndrome, I might have felt, if I hadn't worked through some things with you, that I couldn't share, maybe that I like unicorns, or I couldn't share things that maybe have some deep rooted feelings of not wanting to be visible or be in a position to have the attention on you. So there are things you have to work through to be able to be clear on who you are and define yourself and how you want to be seen.
Beautiful. Well, I think this is such an important conversation to have. Personal brand is some iconic thing that is personal to you, that represents who you are, that makes you memorable and visible. That is what's key. You're coming out of the shadows. And for all my hidden leaders out there, it is time to come out of the shadows and take up space. And it's not for anybody else but you. Right? It's not to look good or to appease somebody. It's what's in your heart and what feels good to you. And I think that's really important. Kim, I've loved you being on here this week. Thank you so much. Anything else that you want to say that I haven't asked you about or you haven't had a chance to say?
I don't think so, but I don't think there's any rule or one size fits all, no pun intended, for how to show up and dress in your personal brand. But it could be a statement jewelry. It could be like, I'm known for dresses. Like, you can decide what you want to be your thing and how you show up.
Beautiful. Love it. All right. Well, you heard it here first from Kim Russo on Brand Designs out of Charleston, South Carolina. Look her up if you need some branding for your company, or you want to have a conversation with her about personal branding, or you're in Charleston. Look for her in her cute little dresses around town. They might be teal, or she might be carrying something teal. I think usually they're white or black with like teal things that you're carrying, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm white, black, teal. Those are my branding colors. And I actually don't wear it a ton. All my accessories.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been this week's episode of Java with Jen. Java with Jen. And we hope we've given you a little caffeine, a little buzz to get you through your week, and a little something to think about. And if you have questions or comments for Kim or me, or thoughts about this episode, please leave them in the comments